Hello and welcome. You're watching Trending Tech on NewsX World, where we bring you the latest tech breakthroughs and trends from around the globe. The line between the real world and the virtual world is disappearing faster than ever. Today we discuss how AI, the metaverse and gaming are no longer just ideas, they're real forces shaping how we work, play and earn. From immersive digital workplaces driving global productivity to the rapid rise in Web3 and play-to-earn gaming, virtual worlds are creating new economies and new identities. But with this growth comes responsibility, concerns around data privacy, AI bias and fair access are growing louder. And as we look ahead to 2030 with hyper-real simulations and fully connected digital worlds, one question stands out. Are we truly ready to thrive in these virtual frontiers? To discuss all this and more, joining us now is Dr. Jane Thomason, a futurist, author and global thought leader in AI, Web3, gaming and digital transformation. She's a voice in blockchain and helps startups globally championing ethical innovation and a human-centered digital future. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Thomason. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Let's get straight into this. As a futurist in AI and digital transformation, how do you envision the metaverse evolving with AI integration, and what trends like virtual economies and immersive workspaces could mean for global productivity in the coming years?
Look, thanks for the question. And I think it's absolutely timely to be having this conversation because increasingly, as people are using immersive spaces, and I'm not going to stick with the term metaverse because people get that confused with Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, and talk about immersive spaces and what's happening in immersive spaces. And we've learnt a lot from gaming because they were one of the first immersive spaces. But what we're seeing now is that in almost every industry, with digital twins, with planning, with remote workplaces where people are able to work all around the world, these immersive workspaces are going to get very much the norm rather than unusual. And with AI, what you've actually got is these AI agents, digital colleagues, agents that can help people design, plan, collaborate. They'll be able to, in digital economies, your metaverse AI agents will be trading tokens, creating jobs and skills, so people will be able to work globally without moving cities or countries, and they'll be able to collaborate globally. So the productivity boost comes from smarter coordination, less travel, and more effective use of these digital spaces that are already available to us.
Indeed, and Dr. Thomason, as a thought leader in gaming, India is experiencing one of the highest uptakes in Web3 gaming globally, with millions engaging in play-to-earn models and blockchain-integrated metaverses. How are these trends, powered by AI-driven avatars, transforming the industry, and what implications do they hold for the future of social interaction, entertainment, and economic opportunity?
Well, I think the big things for India is, first of all, mobile first, because most people, or many people, have got access to mobile technology, and a lot of these games are now able to be played on mobile technology quite cheaply. Now, the whole gaming aspect of it, the play-to-earn games, means that people can earn very small amounts of money from playing games. But in India, where there are a lot of people who are living still in poverty, then this makes a difference to them. But I think the big story for India, and this is where I would encourage anyone who's listening to think about it, is 3.2 billion people in the world play games, whether they're video games or whether they're serious games or whether it's gamification of industries. This is a massive and growing sector. And so I think for India, the opportunity of building that economy and building that sector and giving people the opportunity to learn the skills to be able to work in gaming is going to be a really important potential economic growth sector for India.
And in your view, as an author, what ethical trends should we watch for in the metaverse, so-called, such as data privacy in virtual realities or AI biases in immersive environments to ensure equitable access and prevent societal harms?
Look, this is a really important question. And so the answer is we know that there are a whole slew of ethical questions, some of which we have only just started to unravel. And so, you talked about identity, you talk about privacy, you talk about children, how we protect children in the metaverse, you talk about bias, so we're not discriminating against certain groups. So there's a whole lot of things that we're going to need to figure out. There's no, for example, if you commit a crime in the metaverse, what happens? Are you going to be prosecuted in the same way as you'd be prosecuted in the real world? So the first thing is we have many, many, many ethical issues. And the other thing is in the metaverse, they're capturing more information about you than has ever been captured before, because they're capturing your psychological reactions, your physiological reactions, you're connected to IoTs and so forth. So there's a whole lot of issues around data. But one of the points that I would like to make, and I think is really important, is we're not going to solve that problem. We're not going to protect people through the traditional means of having committees, having policies, having structures and so forth. Because we're moving into a digital environment, the only way we're going to be able to govern it properly and protect people against ethical challenges is that it needs to be encoded in the platforms. And so what this is going to mean is an incredible amount of collaboration between government, between industry and the communities to make sure that built into these platforms are those kinds of safeguards that need to be there, and with the ethical considerations to protect people against bias and data misuse and so forth.
And looking to 2030, what bold trends do you predict at the intersection of AI, Web3 and gaming, such as hyper-realistic simulations or cross-platform in interoperability, and how can businesses and individuals adapt to thrive in these virtual frontiers?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to remember is that the generation coming forward have grown up with a screen in front of their face. So they're very comfortable in these immersive environments. So they'll be very comfortable working in them, getting skills in them, using them. They're very comfortable with digital assets. They're very comfortable with avatars. So we need to think about the world that they're going to be comfortable living in and where the opportunities are to earn income. And, you talk about AI and gaming. What we're seeing now is already games are being written by the players, particularly the Web3 games. So it's no longer the big companies who design a game and give it to you and you play it, but they've actually got cooperation and collaboration of people together with AI actually designing the future of games. And then with digital assets entering the gaming, it means that people can really transfer value from one game to another, in and out of games, back into the real world. So it's going to be a whole growth economy that everyone needs to take seriously.
And AI-generated content has already influenced elections. It's spread deepfake propaganda and manipulated public opinion in some circumstances, with regulation still lagging behind in innovation. In a world where AI can influence opinions, behavior, and how they vote, who decides what is ethical to tech companies, governments, or the public?
That's a complicated question to answer, because let me say this. First of all, ethics is not consistent across cultures. So what might be ethical in a Western democracy might not be ethical in a communist country, for example. And so every country is going to have a different view about ethics. But at the same time, these platforms operate multi-jurisdictionally. So you're not going to be able to go, well, this is the rules in this country and I'm only going to stick to that, because people can go and operate on the platforms in other jurisdictions. So there's going to need to be some sort of cross-jurisdictional collaboration about some very, very basic requirements that get built into the platforms. That's the A. The B is you're always going to have bad actors, and you're always going to have people whose intent is to do harm or to cause trouble. And to some extent, I think that what we're going to start to see is a little bit like at the movies. You go to an R-rated movie or an M-rated movie or a G-rated movie, there's going to be some form of rating of the platforms around data security and ethics and all of these other issues. But the point that you make is absolutely correct. The technology is moving faster than the regulation, and it always does. And so moving forward, but in a digital way, and that's why I made the point, this has all got to be hard-coded in. It can't be we've written a policy and we've put it on a website. That won't work, because unless it's on the platform and it controls the way the platform is operating, it's not going to be effective. So we need a whole new form of governance for this future immersive AI-enabled Web3 world.
And finally, of course, from smartphones to AI assistants, every major tech shift has reshaped how humans think, work, and even form relationships in some circumstances. Do you think we're shaping technology, or is technology now shaping us going forward?
Well, we need to get back in front. So I think the answer is technology's taken away in front of us, and we need to have the kind of people who understand technology helping governments and people who are building these kinds of governance arrangements to understand what we need to control and how we need to protect people and how we need to make it better, and what are the kinds of platforms and opportunities that we want to put in front of people. So let's just say, health and education are perfect examples. We can really transform, particularly in emerging economies, how health and education are provided, because all you basically need is a mobile phone and then connection to one of these platforms, and you're going to really be able to bring people both health and education services, connection to the economy that they've never had before. So it's so powerful and it's so promising, but we can't do it with no controls or no safeguards. And I think that's where the conversation needs to be. And the safeguards need to be put in place by people who understand the technology, which is why the collaboration with the tech companies is absolutely essential.
Dr. Jane Thomason, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us. It was a pleasure to speak to you here on Trending Tech.
Thanks for having me.
With that's all we have time for. Do stay updated on NewsX World and Trending Tech for updates and innovations.